This is a Fonzie Studio podcast. Welcome to Tales from the First Nations. I'm Jay Idle, and every week I'll share with you a tale and ancient wisdom of the native tribes of North America. I'll be joined by my cats, Dawa and Fonzie, who will undoubtedly make their presence known at some point, so I might as well just list them as co-hosts. We hope you'll enjoy the tales and wisdom, raise your vibration, and enrich your life with us every week. Welcome, friends. Welcome to the 84th episode of Tales from the First Nations. I'm your host, Jay Idle. Many episodes ago, I talked about my favorite tree friend, Red, the red pine. I like to go sit under him and meditate and just be at one with nature. Well, oftentimes when I'm there, there's little chipmunks running all around, and they know me very well because they've learned that when I show up, I always leave behind an offering of sunflower seeds to show my gratitude for being able to spend time there. So they tend to swarm the area when I'm around. Many times I open my eyes after meditation and there's a bunch of them in the grass just looking at me, getting excited to pick up the sunflower seeds that I leave behind. So today, our show is for my little chipmunk friends. In many Native American traditions, chipmunks appear in why, or origin stories that explain natural features, most famously the stripes on their backs. These stories, often found among tribes such as the Seneca and the Haudenosaunee, often portray the chipmunk as small, but bold, clever, and outspoken. By standing up to much larger animals like bear, the chipmunk represents intelligence, alertness, and the idea that size does not determine importance. At the same time, these tales usually include a lesson about humility and the consequences of teasing or pride. More broadly, chipmunks symbolize preparation, resourcefulness, and awareness. Their habit of gathering and storing food for winter made them natural models of foresight and survival, qualities highly valued in native communities living close to the land. Because chipmunks are quick, observant, and closely tied to the rhythms of the season, they're often associated with the attentiveness of one's surroundings and respect for natural cycles. In this way, the chipmunk serves as a reminder that even the smallest beings have wisdom to offer. I only have two stories for you today, and they both are different tales that explain the stripe on Chipmunk's back. The first one comes from the Seneca people and is called How Chipmunks Got Their Stripes. A grandmother and granddaughter were living together. They had a skin blanket, but it was old and a good deal of the hair was worn off. The two women went to the forest to camp and cut wood, and they carried the blanket to cover themselves there at night. They had been in the forest only a few days when they found that the skin blanket was alive and was angry. They threw the blanket down and ran towards home as fast as they could. Soon they heard the skin following them. When it seemed very near, the grandmother began to sing her song, and her song said, "My granddaughter and I are running for our lives. My granddaughter and I are running for our lives." When the song ended, the woman could scarcely hear the skin following them. But not long after, they heard it again. When they reached home, the skin, now a bear, was so near that they pushed open the door, and it clawed at them and scratched their backs. But they got in. The old woman and her granddaughter were chipmunks. Since that time, chipmunks have stripes on their backs, the result of the scratches given by the bear. I guess I'd be angry too if I was a bear and had been used as a blanket for a long time. But it isn't just the bear that can be attributed to the stripes on a chipmunk. According to another story, becoming a chipmunk was a bit of a reward. This is called Chipmunk's Back is Striped. What a splendid lodge it was, and how grand War Eagle looked leaning against his backrest in the firelight. From the tripod that supported the backrest were suspended his weapons and his medicine bundle, each showing the wonderful skill of the maker. The quiver that held the arrows was combined with a case for the bow and colored quills of the porcupine that had been deftly used to make it a thing of beauty. All about the lodge hung the strangely painted linings, and the firelight added richness to both color and design. War Eagle's hair was white, for he had known many snows, but his eyes were keen and bright as a boy's as he gazed in pride at his grandchildren across the lodge fire. He was wise and had been in many battles, for this was a warlike tribe. He knew all about the world and the people in it. He was deeply religious, and every Indian child loved him for his goodness and his brave deeds. About the fire were Little Buffalo Calf, a boy of 11 years, Eyes in the Water, his sister, a girl of 9, Fine Bow, a cousin of these, aged 10, and Bluebird, his sister, who was about 8 years old. Not a sound did the children make while the old warrior filled his great pipe, and only the snapping of the lodge fire broke the stillness. Solemnly, War Eagle lit the tobacco that had been mixed with the dried inner bark of red willow, and for several minutes smoked in silence, while the children's eyes grew large with expectancy. Finally, he spoke. Napa, old man, is very old indeed. He made the world and all that is on it. He came out of the south and traveled toward the north, making the birds and animals as he passed. He made the perfumes for the winds to carry about, and he even made the war paint for the people to use. He was a busy worker, but a great liar and thief, as I shall show you after I have told you more about him. It was Old Man who taught the beaver all his cunning. It was Old Man who told the bear to go to sleep when the snow grew deep in winter, and it was he who made the curlew's bill so long and crooked, although it was not that way at first. Old Man used to live on this world with the animals and birds. There was no other man or a woman then, and he was chief over all the animal people and bird people. He could speak the language of the robin, knew the words of the bear, and understood the sign talk of the beaver, too. He lived with the wolves, for they were the greatest hunters. Even today, we make the same sign for a smart man as we make for the wolf. So you see, he taught them much while he lived with them. Old Man made a great many mistakes in making things, as I shall show you after a while. Yet he worked until he had everything good. But he often made great mischief and taught many wicked things. These I shall tell you about someday. Everybody was afraid of Old Man and his tricks and lies, even the animal people. Before he made man and woman, he used to visit the lodges of our people and make trouble long ago. But he was so wicked that Manitou grew angry at him, and one day, in the month of roses, he built a lodge for Old Man and told him that he must stay in it forever. Of course, he had to do that, and nobody knows where the lodge was built, nor in what country. But that is why we never see him, as our grandfathers did long, long ago. What I shall tell you now happened when the world was young. It was a fine summer day, and Old Man was traveling in the forest. He was going north as straight as an arrow, looking at nothing, hearing nothing. No one knows what he was after. To this day, they still don't know. The birds and the forest people spoke politely to him as he passed, but he answered none of them. The pine squirrel, who was always trying to find out other people's business, asked him where he was going, but Old Man wouldn't tell him. The woodpecker hammered on a dead tree to make him look that way, but he wouldn't. The elk people and the deer people saw him pass, and all said that he must be up to some mischief, or he would stop and talk a while. The pine trees murmured, and the bushes whispered their greeting, but he kept his eyes straight ahead and went on traveling. The sun was low when Old Man heard a groan, and turning about he saw a warrior lying bruised and bleeding near a spring of cold water. Old Man knelt beside the man and asked, "Is there war in this country?" "Yes," answered the man. "This whole day long we have fought to kill a person, but we have all been killed. I am afraid." "That is strange," said Old Man. "How can one person kill so many?" "Who is this person? Tell me his name." But the man didn't answer, for he was dead. When Old Man saw that life had left the wounded man, he drank from the spring and went on toward the north. But before long he heard a noise, as if men fighting, and he stopped to look and listen. Finally he saw the bushes bend and sway near a creek that flowed through the forest. He crawled towards the spot, and peering through the brush, saw a great person near a pile of dead men, with his back against a pine tree. The person was full of arrows, and he was pulling them out from his ugly body. Calmly, the person broke the shafts of the arrows, tossed them aside, and stopped the blood flow with a brush of his hairy hand. His head was large and fierce-looking, and his eyes were small and wicked. His great body was larger than that of a buffalo, and covered with scars of many battles. Old Man went to the creek, and with his buffalo horn cup, brought some water to the person, asking as he approached, "Who are you, person? Tell me, so I can make you a fine present, for you are a great warrior." "I am Bad Sickness," replied the person. "Tribes I have met remember me, and always will, for their bravest warriors are afraid when I make war upon them. I come in the night, or I visit their camps in daylight. It is always the same. They are frightened, and I kill them easily." "Oh," said Old Man, "tell me how to make bad sickness, for I often go to war myself." He lied, for he was never in a battle in his life. The person shook his ugly head, and then Old Man said, "If you will tell me how to make bad sickness, I will make you small and handsome. When you are big as you are now, it's very hard to make a living, but when you are small, little food will make you fat. Your living will be easy because I will make your food grow everywhere." "Good," said the person, "I will do it." "You must kill the fawns of the deer and the calves of the ilk when they first begin to live. When you have killed enough of them, you must make a robe of their skins. Whenever you wear that robe and sing, 'Now you sicken, now you sicken,' the sickness will come. That is all there is to it." "Good," said Old Man. "Now lie down to sleep, and I will do as I promised." The person went to sleep, and Old Man breathed upon him until he grew so tiny that he laughed to see how small he had made him. Then he took out his paint sack and striped the person's back with black and yellow. It looked bright and handsome, and he waked the person, who was now a tiny animal with a bushy tail to make him pretty. "Now," said Old Man, "you are the chipmunk, and must always wear those striped clothes. All of your children and their children must wear them too." After the chipmunk had looked at himself and thanked Old Man for his new clothes, he wanted to know how he could make his living, and Old Man told him what to eat. He said that he must cache the pine nuts when the leaves turned yellow, so he would not have to work in the wintertime. "You are a cousin to the pine squirrel," said Old Man, "and you will hunt and hide as he does. You will be spry, and your living will be easy to make if you do as I have told you." He taught the chipmunk his language and his signs, showed him where to live, and then left him, going on towards the north again. He kept looking for the cow elk and doe deer, and it was not long before he had killed enough of their young to make the robe as the person told him, for they were plentiful before the white man came to live in the world. He found a shady place near a creek, and there made the robe that would make bad sickness whenever he sang the strange song. But the robe was plain and brown in color. He didn't like the looks of it. Suddenly, he thought how nice the back of the chipmunks looked after he had striped it with his paints. He got out his old paint sack, and with the same colors made the robe look very much like the clothes of the chipmunk. He was proud of the work, and he liked the new robe better. But being lazy, he wanted to save himself work. So he sent the south wind to tell all the doe deer and the cow elk to come to him. They came as soon as they received the message, for they were afraid of Old Man and always tried to please him. When they had all reached the place where Old Man was, he said to them, "Do you see this robe?" "Yes, we see it," they replied. "Well, I have made it from the skins of your children, and then painted it to look like the chipmunk's back, for I like the look of that person's clothes. I shall need many more of these robes during my life. Every time I make one, I don't want to have to spend my time painting it. So, from now on and forever, your children shall be born in spotted clothes. I want it to be that way to save me work. On all the fawns, there must be spots of white, like this." Here he painted to the spots on the bad sickness's robe. "And on the elk calves, the spots shall be not so white, and shall be in rows and look rather yellow." Again he showed them this robe, that they might see what he wanted. "Remember," he said, "after this, I don't want to see any of your children running about wearing plain clothes, because that would mean more painting for me. Now go away and remember what I have said, lest I make you sick." The cow elk and the doe deer were glad to know that their children's clothes would be beautiful, and they went away to their little ones who were hiding in the tall grass, where the wolves and mountain lions would have a hard time finding them. For you know that in the tracks of the fawn there is no scent, and the wolf cannot trail him when he is alone. That is the way Manitou takes care of the weak, and all the forest people know about it too. Now you know why Chipmunk's back is striped, and why the fawn and elk calves wear their pretty clothes. I hear the owls, and it's time for all young men, who will someday be great warriors, to go to bed, and for all young women to seek rest, lest beauty go away forever. Ho. I'm not a big fan of bad sickness. Now that we know his tricks, we must be careful to never fall under his dark magic. As for the chipmunk, perhaps we should be suspicious of them now. They used to be bad sickness. It's with respect and gratitude that I offer you my blessings, and thank you for sharing your journey with me and sharing your time with me on this podcast. I wish you well and look forward to sharing another story with you next week. Go in peace, return in peace, and may you be well. If you enjoy the podcast, please like and review us in your podcast service so that we might continue to grow, and feel free to tell friends and family who you feel might enjoy the tales as well. Our first story, How Chipmunks Got Their Stripes, comes from native-languages.org and can be found in Jeremiah Curtin's 1923 collection, Seneca Indian Myths. Our second story, Chipmunk's Back is Striped, comes from childsstoryhour.com. For more great stories and legends, join me next week for another story here on Tales from the First Nations. I'm Jay Idle, and I'll talk to you next time. Music is provided by my dear friend Scott Brocklesby, and our podcast Image of the Moon was provided by Mark Lawton. We will see you next time. All right, that's it. How'd we do, Dawa? Phones? Excellent. Then I'll share it.